Here we go. Now, in this video today, I'm going to be doing something a bit different. You see in the title, Bonafide Heat is joining me on my channel. So, awesome to get our first collab on my channel. Here we have an Elite Heat kind of, well, it's not the podcast, but it's a bit of premium content. So in this video today, you've seen by the title, we're going to be doing a rant on the PG Era. Now, the PG Era, yes, the rating's still PG, so technically we're still in the PG Era, but for this video, what we're going to be doing is ranting on WWE and some of the cringe stuff they did from like 2009 through about 2013-14, like the height of the kiddiness, the height of the PG Era. So I'll throw it over to you, Kevin. Where do you want to start us off?
When you ask me, or when you tell me the PG Era in WWE, the first thing that I think of is Michael Cole and The Miz. That's like, those two guys epitomize the height of the PG Era, along with Super Cena. We could literally do a whole podcast of me going in and just burying Michael Cole and The Miz. That whole pairing they did, heel Michael Cole. The Miz and R-Truth is like a main event tag team, and people like actually cheering for them. God, unbelievable. Zack Ryder, people wanting Zack Ryder in the ring over The Rock. Like, really? Like, what? Like, you know, I think about Zack Ryder as the United States champion, CM Punk as the WWE champion, Daniel Bryan as the world champion, and Cody Rhodes as the Intercontinental champion. And it's like, wow, this is like wrestling's downfall right here in a single picture.
Yeah, so literally, to give this like a bit of structure, so you go from the Ruthless Aggression era, an era which many people have as their favorite wrestling era of all time, that ends in like 2007, 2008, and then you transition into this family-friendly WWE ran by Vince, which promotes child-friendly, family-friendly content, and that family-friendly content includes Raw guest hosts every week, knocking out the top heels in the company as Big Show and Cena stand there posing to end the show with this like celebrity. Like, that was week in, week out what they were doing. Like, I'll ask you now, just Kevin, quickly, how bad were the Raw guest hosts? Just we'll start there.
Wow, it's so bad that the only two guest hosts I can remember is Shaq and the guy that plays Arrow that wrestled Cody Rhodes at All In. I can't remember his name.
Stephen Amell, that guy.
Stephen Amell, yes. I remember there was one segment where like they had some game show host on and Jericho just mean mugged him for 20 minutes. And I was like, why would I want to watch Raw? Like, even me as like a 12-year-old kid, a 13-year-old kid, whatever, I was like, this isn't cool. This isn't entertaining. This isn't funny. Like, they tried to do like Crash TV and like a PG version, and the guest host just fell flat, entirely flat.
Yeah, like, no one's turning on Raw trying to see these like C-list celebrities from like the 1990s daytime TV beating up the top heels in the company. Like, that makes no sense. It makes no one look good. And really, I get they were doing that to try and rebuild their PR following the Benoit thing in like 2008 or 2007, but no one found it entertaining. No one was desperately tuning in Raw to see which guest host would beat up the top heels in the company. Like, the whole thing was just dumb, I think it's fair to say.
Can we talk about how bad the Wrestlemanias were during the height of the PG era?
Yeah. Like,
you talk about the Ruthless Aggression era. You got WrestleMania 19, 20, 21, 22, all classics. I don't need to go on. But then you get 29, you know, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker saved that show. Not 29, I'm sorry, 25. 26, Undertaker and Shawn saved those shows. But then you got 27, 28, and 29. Just dumpster fire of horrendous WrestleMania shows. Like, Mark Henry and Ryback is like a featured match on WrestleMania 29. Really?
Yeah, like the only good match. Yeah. Really? The Miz? Really? When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut, Kevin. But nah, just those WrestleManias. 28 was good because of part-timers, and really all of them are good because of part-timers. Michaels, Undertaker, Triple H, Rock, like, it was good because of them. And then you have the rest of the show, and as you say, Mark Henry versus Ryback. You've got WrestleMania 27. You've got John Morrison, Trish Stratus, and Snooki versus like who I don't even know who they were facing. You have WrestleMania 27, The Core versus Big Show, Kane, and Kofi Kingston. Like, what are these? This is WrestleMania. This is the showcase of the Immortals. This is Hogan slamming Andre. This is Austin winning the title. And this is what we get in this day and age. 2009 through 2013. Those are the WrestleManias we got. We got a couple of good Undertaker matches, and the rest of the shows were bad. Like, bruh.
We got the Miz, who everybody on Twitter now is saying is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, God.
The Miz literally went from the WrestleMania main event against John Cena in 27. What was he doing in WrestleMania 28? Can we fact check this? I believe he was on the pre-show.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
I remember. Basically, so every year at WrestleMania, as we all know, they like to throw everyone they can onto the card. At WrestleMania 28, The Miz represented Team John Laryngitis to beat Team Teddy Long in a Raw vs. SmackDown get everyone on the card match. Really?
On the main card?
Apparently it was. I checked Wikipedia yesterday. It was, but God, you don't remember it. I barely remember it.
It was the popcorn match after Undertaker and Triple H's classic.
Yeah.
In between that and Punk and Jericho, so it was the popcorn match.
Yeah, it was the match where Hornswoggle was coming out there waving around a flag with Teddy Long's face on it. It was that match. Like, oh, jeez. So yeah,
the anonymous GM deserves a little segment in this video too. I think we got to talk about the anonymous
GM. But first, we'll keep talking about The Miz, because I know The Miz is your favorite, Kevin. When it comes to WrestleMania and just the PG era in general, the Miz won the WWE title in 2010. Okay, you're giving this Mike Mizanin guy a championship run. Okay, he's feuding with Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole, and the commentators like the lead storyline on the show. And they're having JR embarrassed. Like, what is this crap? And then The Miz is pushing awesome pull floats, doing a strut as Alex Riley's running behind and clapping, and so is Michael Cole. Like, bro.
The Miz is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Keep that in mind. This is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I get it. The Hall of Fame's a joke. I did a whole video about it, but for God's sake, man, if the Hall of Fame had any kind of legitimacy, The Miz would not be in there.
Well, yeah. Well, look at the guys. Look at the guys they were pushing in 2010. You've got The Miz. You've got Jack Swagger, Sheamus. Like these guys.
Del Rio.
Yeah, Alberto El Patron. Like these are the guys who are getting the pushes, and people will be like, "Oh well, they're my favorite superstars. They put on great matches." Like people are going to pretend to be like giant Jack Swagger fans in hindsight, but in reality, Jack Swagger, you give him a microphone and there's no point. He's just useless.
Let's word it like this. In the Attitude Era, this was the cream of the crop. Stone Cold, Triple H, The Rock, Mick Foley, Kane, The Undertaker, and I know I'm missing a couple. In the PG Era, it was John Cena, CM Punk, Dolph Ziggler, Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio, and Jack Swagger.
Yep.
Like those are your six big guys. Cody Rhodes. Like that's it. Those are your six big guys in the PG era.
Yeah, and then also you look at like the big angles they're doing in this kind of time period. We had the Nexus, which could have been good, but then Cena just beat them all. And then that turned into the new Nexus with CM Punk, Husky Harris, and Michael McGillicuddy. And then the Core featuring Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater. Like, that was, like, the big thing for, like, most of 2010 and half of 2011. The Nexus, the Core, the new Nexus, Miz is champion, Jerry Lawler is cutting promos on Michael Cole, as Michael Cole has to eat Jerry Lawler's toe with barbecue sauce on it. Like, this was the PG era. Sheamus having fun with Muppets backstage. This was the PG era. The Rock yelling at Michael Cole because Michael Cole was reading anonymous GM emails. That was the PG era.
Yes, let's talk about the anonymous GM, please. Like this storyline killed wrestling for me. This was the reason why I stopped watching wrestling for a long time. It was so bad, so bad.
Yeah. So can you remind me, because I wasn't really paying attention this time? How did that come about? Do you remember how there was an anonymous Raw GM? Like, what happened?
I don't know. I just remember that there was like, I remember watching Raw occasionally, and I would like tune in and like there'd be a match. It would be like Alberto Del Rio versus Christian or something, and then all of a sudden it would like an alarm would go off, and Michael Cole would get out of this, like he was in like the shark.
The coal mine. He was in the coal mine, clapping for the Maz.
Exactly. He was isolated from Jerry Lawler because they had this feud. He hated Jerry Lawler, and he would get up and may I have your attention, please?
And I quote, like,
I have orders from Vince McMahon. May I have your attention, please? And I'm like, why would I? I'm just gonna watch Monday Night Football and the NBA. I'm not gonna watch this. There's no reason to watch this at all. God,
John, action in progress. You got me kidding me? Native Batista, tap out Batista. Like Michael Cole is just, oh my god. Like he could.
I'm gonna try to find the origin. I'm gonna look it up while you're going.
Yeah. So you've got we kind of alluded to this, but I want to address when the commentators are like the main part of your show. It's never a good thing. And yes, they're always the voices, but when the main storylines on the show aren't about the wrestlers who dedicate their blood, sweat, and tears to becoming main event superstars, but when the main storylines on the show is Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, Booker T, JBL all interacting, that's not a good thing. Like, remember the 2012 Royal Rumble when the three surprise entrants were Michael Cole, Booker T, and Jerry Lawler. Like, this is how bad the PG era was. The PG era, people look back at it with reverence. Oh my god, the pipe bomb was so good. But outside of that, what was there? Because even that Summer of Punk, as we've talked about in Elite Heat episode 1, that was hardly great either. Like, seriously.
There was the Shield, maybe. The Shield is like the best thing to come out of the PG era.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue.
Yeah.
That was like cool and riveting television when you had Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns and Rollins, these guys that looked like wrestlers in like NWO-like vignettes. That was cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, that was cool from end of 2012 when they debuted. 2013, that was cool. Then they split up, and they're doing these, like, Dean Ambrose goes off to the circus, comes back, gets barbecue sauce and mustard, and he's spraying mustard at the Authority. And you've got Seth Rollins getting slimed in his face, and Reigns is just there, smiling, doing nothing. Like, that was the PG era. The PG era, it drove away so many fans. Like, it really did. And because, yeah, you're gone.
Honestly, it did. And I think really when you look at PG era, the PG era, it's John Cena. John Cena led the era, and a lot of it is not his fault. A lot of it was him doing what he's told. But this was a different era where it was like kids were like, "Oh, mom, dad, we got to go to the show. We got to see John Cena." So a lot of the crowd consisted of kids and like adults that didn't really want to be there. They're just there for their kids, and you know, it's like John Cena was the show. It was like when John Cena would come out, it was like a commercial at one point. It was like they're advertising, oh, Michael Cole, oh, look at the armband, the Never Give Up t-shirt. It was just a one big commercial. It wasn't wrestling anymore. It was like, what am I watching?
But Kevin, you're telling me you never bought a You Can't See Me tea towel? What do you mean?
I know, like, really? Like,
but that was I don't know. That was the issue, because if you weren't a Cena fan, what was the point watching? Which is why most of the kind of the casuals, the blokes who'd be watching wrestling, like the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, they all went off to watch either MMA, UFC, stopped watching wrestling altogether. Like, those fans who were around in the 2000s, they left because it was just, if you don't like Cena, you're screwed. If you don't like Cena, you can't see me, boy, 5-knuckle shuffle. Like, there'd be no point watching. So
I love you, C Nation.
I love everybody, C Nation. Hustle loyalty, respect, C Nation. Like, absolute joke. So yeah, I think we basically covered, generally speaking, the PG era. Like, we haven't gone in depth into every storyline, but I don't think there's real need to, because the PG era in totality, it was realistically from about 2009 through about 2014. It was like at its height. Ever since then, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's been PG, but it's just been NXT, independent guys running rampant. People have just not cared in general, and the ratings have dipped.
It's like the era. Now we're in like the era where WWE tries to cater to everybody. At WrestleMania, there's one match that's for the hardcore internet fans. Yeah. There's one match for the Attitude Era casuals. There's one match for the kids. Now wrestling is a much more mixed bag and appeals to a lot of different people.
Yeah, because they called it the reality era, and in that case, I guess the reality is that wrestling's completely uncool, very niche, and it's just for bronies. I guess that's what the reality is, but nonetheless, I think we've covered enough here. We've been here nearly 15 minutes. I think it's about time to get out of here. So, in closing, check out the Elite Heat podcast. Episode 4 is coming out next week, so that's a banger of a show. Kevin, any last words?
And the PG era, where would you rank it, I guess? Like, would you say it's the worst era of modern wrestling? Oh, God.
Honestly, probably, because at least New Generation era, the shows are an hour long, and it was just a circus. I mean, the PG era, I don't know what were they trying to accomplish in totality. Like
John Cena, just push Cena. That's it.
Yeah, because I mean, also just quickly to Cena, like Cena, I genuinely believe the reason he was pushed the way he was because he was better than everyone at that time period. But it was just the way he was pushed, no.
Yeah, and they stripped him of what made him cool too. Everybody liked that he rapped, so it was like, oh, he's not gonna do that anymore. It was just, we're going to have him come out. He's going to do 10 moves, whatever.
Rise above hate, Sin Nation. Kane, you don't come near me, Sin Nation. And he just AA him through an ambulance and then win the match. Like, that was Cena. Like,
yeah, he's main eventing pay-per-views with John Laurinaitis. It was like whatever John Cena was doing was the end-all, be-all of WWE at one point. I mean, that's really what it came down to. Whether it was like John Cena versus Wade Barrett, it was always John Cena was supposed to be the guy. And I don't know, it really created like a lot of love for Cena. There's a generation of fans that love him and love the PG era, but there's a generation of fans that really despise him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's... And the video talking about Cena, it's fitting for the PG era. So, yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, sub. You guys know the drill. See ya.